I never imagined how quickly the life I knew could shift beneath my feet. I'm Tom Harris, age 63, and for 4 decades I believed my marriage to Linda was unbreakable. We built our home in a quiet Columbus suburb, raised 3 children, now grown with children of their own, and last summer celebrated our 50th anniversary under string lights in our backyard. I retired 2 years ago and spent my mornings tending the garden and my afternoons reading the paper on the porch. Linda baked pies for the neighbors and volunteered at the senior center. It was simple, steady, and perfect. Then came the messages. I'd be in bed by 9, the house silent save for crickets, when my phone would buzz, "Can you call me?" from Carol, a name I didn't recognize. Linda said it was an old friend at the library, but when I rang, a man's voice answered, clearing his throat before hanging up. I chalked it up to library privacy rules and let it go. Over the next few weeks, I noticed other things, a new perfume, floral, not her usual lavender, lingering on her scarf. Her phone replying to texts at midnight. She'd claim a coffee with Carol on Fridays. I counted 6 Friday mornings in a row where her breakfast remained cold on the table. My heart tightened each time she spoke of growing pains in her new book group, even though I'd never seen a book in her hands. One afternoon I found a dinner receipt tucked inside her cherished apple pie cookbook, 2 entrees at Bistro 47 for $134, time-stamp 8:45 p.m. Work dinner, Linda said when I held it before her in the kitchen. My voice must have wavered. But you retired months ago, I said quietly. She offered a small, sad smile. I'm on the library board now. Sometimes business calls. I dropped it, forcing a laugh, but sleep that night was uneasy. By early October I was unsettled enough to act. I ordered a tiny GPS tracker online, no larger than a stick of gum, and hid it in the lining of Linda's tote bag while she was dusting in the living room. Later, I retrieved our old Wi-Fi camera from the attic and set it above the hallway, angling it toward the front door. I tested the motion sensor and left it blinking green. At 9:12 p.m. that night, my phone buzzed. I tapped the app. Linda's car had pulled out of the driveway. 5 minutes later, the live feed flickered. She stepped into the hall in high heels, hips swaying in a coat I'd never seen her wear. Suddenly a younger man in a leather jacket appeared, lean, confident, his face partly in shadow. They embraced with the intimacy I hadn't seen in our marriage for years. His hand cupped her face, she leaned in as though drawn by an invisible magnet. They kissed, slow, deliberate, as if savoring each forbidden moment. My breath caught. I watched until they parted and he slipped away. Linda glanced around, worried, then walked back to our bedroom, buttoning her coat in silence. I sat in darkness, the screen glowing like a wound. My world had split in two, the life I thought I knew, and the one she was living behind my back. The next morning, I poured oatmeal for Emma and Luke, my grandchildren visiting for the weekend, and forced a smile as they chattered about cartoons. My hands trembled as I laid the trigger-print photos and GPS map on the kitchen table once they'd left for school. When Linda found me there, staring at the evidence, I saw a panic flicker in her eyes. "I know," I said, voice low. "Explain yourself." She sank onto a stool, trembling. "Tom, I'm so sorry." I slid the bistro receipt across the table. Just don't. My heart pounded. "I need you to pack a bag." Tears flowed freely as she reached for her suitcase. "No arguments. No last-minute pleas." She gathered her things and left the house at dusk, pausing only to swallow a final apology before stepping into the cool October night. I locked the door behind her and sank to the floor. The house was hollow, the years of trust stripped away in a single betrayal. Yet as I sat there, I made a promise to myself, and to the grandchildren who would soon fill these quiet rooms, that I would rebuild our home on a foundation of truth and love. Even at 63, I was determined to prove that while marriages can crumble, a father's devotion, and a family's strength, can endure and even thrive after the storm. I woke the next morning feeling as if my bones had turned to lead. The house was silent, too silent, after Linda's departure. My grandchildren, Emma and Luke, would return today for their Sunday visit, oblivious to the upheaval. I brewed coffee, staring at the empty hallway where I'd once torn my eyes from the camera feed. Today, I was Grandpa Tom, Protector-in-Chief, tasked with filling this void for two trusting hearts. At 9 a.m., Emma bounded in, her curly hair in pigtails, and Luke followed, tight in his little Superman shirt. They ran into my arms, and I hugged them fiercely, swallowing tears. "Did you sleep well?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Emma nodded, eyes bright. Luke squeezed his teddy. "Grandma went away?" he asked softly. My chest clenched. "She had to go on a trip, sweetheart. But Grandpa's here, and we're going to have fun." We made cinnamon roll waffles and watched cartoons. The kids laughed, and for a moment I forgot the chasm waiting to be bridged. But after their nap, I took them gently aside. "I need to talk to you about something grown up," I said. Their small faces turned serious. "Mommy made a choice that hurt me and hurt our family. I love her, but right now, we have to be safe." Emma's lip trembled, Luke buried his face in my chest. I stroked his hair. "I promise you're safe with me." That week, I met with family attorney Maria Chen to begin divorce proceedings and an emergency custody petition. We compiled the evidence, GPS logs, camera stills, credit card statements, Linda's own admission. Maria explained, in Ohio, marital misconduct can influence custodial outcomes if it affects the children's welfare. I nodded, determined. I just want to protect these kids. By Friday, we filed motions for temporary sole custody, seizure of joint assets, and sale of the house with proceeds held in trust. I watched as the clerk stamped each document filed, a small yet significant victory. Then I began the process of reorganizing my life, canceling Linda's dinner club membership, changing the auto pay on her library charity donations, arranging to sell her silver sedan. I converted our master bedroom into a document room, lining shelves with binders titled Custody, Evidence, and Therapy Reports. The following Tuesday, I attended a hearing before Judge Freeman. I sat with Emma on my lap and Luke beside me. Maria presented our case crisply, Linda's repeated late-night absences, documented instances of anxiety in the children from Dr. Ramirez's notes, and a detailed parenting plan. Emily's lawyer argued that her affair was a private matter, but when Judge Freeman asked if any evidence refuted our charts, Emily sat silent. Judge Freeman granted me temporary sole physical custody, supervised visitation for Linda, and froze all joint bank accounts. The house was ordered on the market, and its proceeds placed into an educational trust for Emma and Luke. Relief washed over me, but sorrow remained. As we left the courtroom, Emma whispered, "Did Grandpa win?" I hugged her. "We won a safe home." Back home, I sent a notice to the realtor and set up a garage sale for excess furniture. I enrolled Emma in art camp and Luke in a junior soccer league, using funds from the asset freeze to pay fees. I updated a kitchen calendar in bright markers, green for Dad Days and yellow for Supervised Visit. The kids helped place rocket and dinosaur stickers for each event. On the first supervised visit, social worker Karen arrived to usher Linda in. I stayed nearby, peeking through the door crack. Linda greeted the children with forced cheer, but as the afternoon progressed, I saw glimpses of genuine warmth, reading Emma her favorite chapter of Charlotte's Web, teaching Luke to kick a ball. I realized that, beneath the betrayal, love still pulsed, tentative but real. Meanwhile, I sought support for myself. I joined a men's grief group at the community center, a circle of fellows who'd lost spouses or faced midlife divorces. They shared stories of shock, anger, and eventual renewal. On a Wednesday night, I found myself admitting, I never thought I'd be rebuilding at 63, and hearing nods of understanding in return gave me strength. By late spring, Dr. Ramirez reported that Emma's nightmares had ceased and Luke's drawings no longer depicted fear or abandonment. I brought these notes to a midterm custody review. Judge Freeman, impressed by the progress, granted Linda 2 hours unsupervised on Saturday mornings, conditional upon continued therapy. It wasn't full freedom, but it was forward motion. As summer bloomed, our home, on the market, hosted garage sale weekends and trips to the neighborhood pool. Linda's car appeared occasionally, pulling in with muffins in hand. Emma and Luke ran to her, laughing. In the kitchen, I made lemonade while they shared recaps of their visits. I watched from the island, heart lightened, the threads of our family, though rewoven differently, held strong. Now, each morning I rise before dawn, brew coffee, and review the day's schedule, dental check UPS, soccer games, co-parenting sessions. I walk Emma to the bus stop and high-five Luke as he heads for the field. My home, once silent and shattered, now hums with the vibrant rhythm of reconstruction. And while the divorce will soon be final, and our children will know 2 homes instead of 1, I have learned that love's endurance rests not in unassailable perfection, but in the bravery to face betrayal, the wisdom to set healthy boundaries, and the compassion to rebuild, brick by honest brick, a life worthy of those we hold dear. I moved out of the house we once shared the week after the midterm custody review. The sale closed in early June, and I used my half of the proceeds to downsize into a cozy 2-bedroom apartment near the community center and the library, places where I knew I could stay busy. I kept a small room ready for Emma and Luke's sleepovers and set up my own mission control desk in the corner, a laptop for work, a stack of binders for custody logs, and a framed photo of Emma's kindergarten graduation. My days quickly found a new rhythm. Mornings began at dawn, black coffee on the balcony with the newspaper, watching joggers pass by. By 7:30 I was in the kitchen making oatmeal with fresh berries, an upgraded breakfast from the syrup-soaked waffles we once had. Emma and Luke joined me at 8, backpacks in hand, before I drove them to the bus. Their trust in my steady routine felt like a warm anchor in the swirl of change. At work I had taken on a volunteer coding project for a local nonprofit that taught adults digital literacy. Turning my years of IT experience into free workshops for job seekers gave me fresh purpose. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I led classes at the library, Build Your First Website and Email Essentials, and watched the room fill with hopeful faces. One student, Maria, told me, "Tom, you make this feel possible." Her words reminded me that finding meaning in helping others could heal my own hurt. In the afternoons I carved out time for myself, a long walk by the Scioto River, swimming laps at the community pool, and Saturday mornings at the farmer's market browsing heirloom tomatoes and fresh basil. I joined the local men's grief support group, a safe space where we shared stories of loss, betrayal, and rebirth. One night, I admitted, I never thought I'd find joy again, and the circle of nodding heads told me I was not alone. Emily's visits continued evolving. Saturdays at 10 a.m., she arrived with a small gift. Last week it was a new art set for Emma, this week a collection of soccer stickers for Luke. We met at my apartment, and Karen, the social worker, observed from the corner. At first I hovered nearby, but over time I let Emily take the lead, watching from the living room as she read Emma a chapter from the Chronicles of Narnia or taught Luke a new dribbling trick. Their laughter floated through my hallway like a promise that their bond could endure, albeit in a new form. Our co-parenting conversations shifted from court dates to calendars and carpools. On Wednesday nights, Emily and I met with Karen in our old living room-turned-therapy space, now repurposed at my apartment. We drew our overlapping family circles again, this time with fewer tears and more practical notes: who would pick up Emma from art class, which parent would chaperone the school carnival, how to handle emergencies. We learned to preface requests with kindness, "I'd love to take Luke to soccer if that works," and to respect each other's boundaries. It wasn't easy, but every step forward felt like laying a brick in a new foundation. While all this was unfolding, I reconnected with Claire Barnes, a college friend I'd bumped into at the men's group. She'd lost her own spouse years before, and we found solace in our shared stories. Our first coffee date was tentative, 2 single parents comparing schedules and talking about counseling. By July, Claire was joining me and the kids for Pancake Saturday, a new tradition we adopted. One sizzling morning, I flipped blueberry pancakes while Claire poured orange juice and the kids scribbled smiley faces on placemats. In that warmth, I felt the stirrings of something new and hopeful. I also resumed community service at the food bank. Every Monday evening, I donned a volunteer apron and sorted donations. The simple act of packing boxes for families in need grounded me and reminded me that life's challenges are universal, and that giving back is its own reward. As autumn neared, I added more colors to our family calendar: red for Dad plus Claire time, blue for Emily visit, green for Kid adventure. One crisp October evening, Claire, Emma, Luke, and I piled into our station wagon for a spooky hayride at a local farm. The air smelled of apples and dry leaves, children squealed at the sight of costumed actors jumping from the straw. I watched Claire clutch my hand in the trailer's hay, her eyes bright, and realized I was ready to open my heart again. Meanwhile, I continued meeting with Dr. Ramirez, this time alone, to process my grief and anger. "You're doing well, Tom," she told me, pointing to my journal filled with reflections on trust, forgiveness, and resilience. "You've built a life of purpose beyond your marriage, and that's something to honor." Her words settled into me like a benediction. In early December, we celebrated Emma's 10th birthday with a build-your-own pizza party at my apartment. Emily supervised the visit, no social worker in sight, and Claire helped me arrange balloons and streamers. Emma beamed as she layered sauce and mozzarella, Luke sampled every topping. We all sang happy birthday in a crowded living room that felt alive and whole. That night, after the candles were blown out and the last slice eaten, Emily thanked me quietly. "Thank you for making her birthday special," she said. I nodded. "She deserves that, and more." Claire and I exchanged a look that spoke of respect and shared commitment to these children's happiness. Now, nearing the end of this chapter, I sit in my study at my neat desk, reviewing the photos we've taken: pancake mornings, coding classes, hayrides, birthday celebrations. My leather journal rests open beside me, the final entry dated December 10, 2025. This is not the life I thought I'd have at 63, but it's a life I choose every day. One built on honesty, boundary, community, and the unexpected gift of second chances. Emma and Luke thrive. Emily and I co-parent with respect. Claire and I share laughter and love. And I, Tom Harris, am living proof that even after betrayal, it's never too late to rebuild, renew, and rediscover joy. As I close the journal and turn off the lamp, I hear Emma's laughter drifting down the hallway. In that sound, I find peace, knowing that while the house we once shared lies behind me, the home I've created with purpose and affection stands ready to carry us all into tomorrow. By the time I turned 65, life had settled into a rhythm I never thought possible after that first night of betrayal. I'd rebuilt a home for Emma and Luke, forged a respectful co-parenting partnership with Linda, and even found new love with Claire Barnes. Yet each day still carried the echoes of what I'd lost, and the promise of what we'd gained. When the final custody modification hearing convened in early January, I sat between Maria Chen and Emma, Luke curled up on my lap clutching his superhero blanket. Linda appeared more confident now, her dark hair streaked gracefully with silver, her posture straighter. Judge Freeman reviewed the evidence of Linda's 6 months of therapy certificates and Karen's glowing visitation reports. "Mr. Harris," the judge said, "you've demonstrated remarkable consistency and care. Ms. Reeves has met the conditions for expanded unsupervised visits. I grant her overnight visits 1 weekend per month, and extended evening visits every Wednesday. All other arrangements remain in place." A hush fell. I exhaled, but not in relief or resentment, simply acceptance. Em's eyes brightened. Luke punched my leg in excitement at the prospect of Wednesday pizza nights with Mom. Linda smiled, tears glistening. The judge's gavel sealed a new chapter, one where our parenting partnership was truly balanced on both sides of the ledger. That spring, we tested the new arrangement. Emma and Luke spent every Wednesday evening at Linda's apartment, no chaperone, returning on Thursday mornings with stories of homemade soup and bedtime yoga. Weekends, Claire and I sometimes joined them for brunch in the city before they headed back. On birthday mornings, Linda stayed overnight, tucking them in and waking them with pancakes, just as I did on other weekends. Each reunion and separation felt eased by the trust we'd painstakingly rebuilt. Our holiday calendar grew more colorful. On Valentine's Day, the kids exchanged handmade cards with both Mom and Dad, and Claire baked heart-shaped cookies. At Easter, we hosted an egg hunt at the community garden. Emma's artistic eggs lined the pathways, Luke's plastic dinosaurs peered from empty shells, Linda and I traded parenting tips under budding magnolia trees. Summer brought our first fully blended picnic at the lakeside park. I grilled burgers, Linda arranged the potato salad, and Claire organized a kite-flying contest for the neighborhood kids. Emma and Luke dashed barefoot through the grass, their laughter mingling with the breeze. When the sun dipped low, we gathered beneath a red and white checkered blanket, passing s'mores around the portable fire pit. I patted Claire's hand and Linda's shoulder, marveling at how far we'd come. At work I achieved a milestone. I was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award for my contributions to digital literacy in our community. As I accepted the plaque, I thought of the nights I'd worried I'd lose everything. Instead, I discovered a deeper purpose guiding my later years, service to others and devotion to family, not just the one I'd begun with, but the one we'd built anew. In October, Claire and I took Emma and Luke on a weekend camping trip in Hocking Hills. We roasted marshmallows, told ghost stories by lantern light, and hiked misty trails. At night, as I watched Claire tuck the kids into sleeping bags, I felt a profound tenderness. I was a man reborn by adversity, shaped by loss but not defined by it. Back home, I scheduled a final meditation session with Dr. Ramirez, this time alone. In her warm office, I shared my gratitude and my lingering fears, of aging, of change, of leaving scars on the children's hearts. She listened, then smiled. "You've done the work, Tom. Healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about weaving it into a tapestry stronger than before." That winter, our Christmas tree stood in both living rooms, one at my apartment, one at Linda's. We took turns opening gifts and singing carols. Emma handed me a card inscribed, "Thank you for never giving up." Luke drew a picture of our blended family under a shining star. Linda and Claire exchanged knowing glances, and I raised my cocoa mug to them all. Now, as I sit by my study window, snowflakes drifting against the glass, I reflect on the journey from 63 to 65. The house I once shared with Linda is gone. The comfortable certainty of midlife collapsed in a single moment of betrayal. But from those ashes, I've built a new life brimming with purpose, love, and community. At 65, I know this story isn't a fairy tale. There are no perfect endings, only the ongoing promise to choose honesty, to set boundaries, and to hold fast to those we love. If betrayal taught me anything, it's that the heart can break and still expand, making room for second acts that shine brighter than the first. I close my journal on this December night, beneath a photo of Emma and Luke, mugs in hand, smiling under the Christmas lights. My final entry reads: "Life at 65 is richer for every scar. Love can survive betrayal, families can be reborn, and I, Tom Harris, stand here, ready for whatever comes next." And as the clock chimes midnight, I sip my tea and whisper to the quiet room, onward.